Hello and welcome back. Our next film looks at every multinational's nightmare. Ireland's scenic west coast, an area of rugged and wild beauty, is the unlikely setting for a bitter dispute between Shell and a group of farmers from a village called Rossport. They're hell-bent on stopping the big multinational from building an inland gas pipe on their land. So much so that 5 Rossport residents went to jail for doing just that. Tensions and emotions are running high on both sides. The villagers feel that the gas pipe would destroy their community and their way of life. Shell insists that they are being responsible and that gas is crucial to Ireland's booming economy. Both sides are at loggerheads, and it's really coming down to who blinks first. Sinead O'Shea looks at how people power is a force to be reckoned with, even when you are one of the world's biggest and most powerful multinationals.
This is my home place. We have lived here all our life for generations. My father is here. He passed away 2 years ago, so he has been here since 1947. So, I mean, that's the connections I have with Rossport.
It's it's a safe environment. You have healthy air and clean water, and anyone with children would always want that kind of safety for their children. And you feel that this is one of the places that they could live safely.
The rights to the gas field were acquired by the Royal Shell Group. Under the terms of the agreement negotiated by the Irish government, all profits and gas from the operation would be passed on to the Shell Group.
The end of summer 2000, Shell approached the local community in a rather surprising manner and informed us that they will build a gas pipeline across the Rossport farmland and that there will be a refinery built in Ballinaboy. And I felt at the time that the local people never got enough information to make an informed decision.
Concerned, Monica met with neighbours to try and understand what Shell's plans were. It appeared that Shell was reluctant to engage with local people at first. Information meetings were held during the day when people were often at work.
I remember somebody in Shell saying to me, "Yeah, well, Monica, we were always open to talk." And I said, "Well, you were never open to listen. Because way back in the beginning, you just didn't listen."
It's a close-knit community, very traditional values, very conservative, good spirit of helping neighbours and so on. I would say reluctant to see some changes in the area. One of the things that we didn't maybe take sufficiently into account as well, there hasn't really been any industrial development at all in the area. So
slowly, local uncertainties began to mount. It was discovered that raw gas was to be piped at high pressure within 70 metres of some of their homes. Locals then found out that lands owned by farmers along the pipeline route could be acquired by Shell under new government legislation, the compulsory acquisition orders. Fears began to grow that they were being brushed aside by big business.
Shell tells me I'm over 70 metres from the pipe, but I don't think that, because every time I come in and out to my home, I have to cross the pipe. So the pipe is only a metre deep. So I consider myself only being a metre away from that pipe.
Growing ever more concerned, locals asked that the processing be carried out offshore.
Offshore was looked at. Processing corrupt gas onshore is safer. It's better from an environmental point of view. It's technically better and it's more economic.
What began as a local affair became national news in the summer of 2005. 5 of the objectors were put into jail for 94 days after refusing to let Shell personnel dig up their land. They became the Rossport 5. Willie Corduff was one of them.
If there's somebody wanting to get onto your land or wanting to get into your house or something, well, you're going to ask them questions, I mean, and you'd like to get answers. So, I mean, that's what led to us going to prison. I mean, they wouldn't show us any proof. They wouldn't answer any questions. They decided to take out an injunction on us to get onto our land, and we broke that injunction. We wouldn't let them onto the land, so that's what led to our imprisonment.
We regret the part that Shell played in the jailing of the 5 men in summer of 2005. That was regrettable. What we said is that we can't change the past, but we can certainly learn from the past, and we are taking a very different approach.
And just to be taken out of the blue for trying to protect your home and your family and your grandchildren and what was given to you by your father and your grandfather and everybody else, just to be taken and brought to court and put behind bars, I think it was. You know, it takes more than an apology to sort something like that out.
They're here to put the interests of the corporate good before the common good.
During the men's time in prison, the protests had grown into mass demonstrations. A group had emerged called Shell to Sea, who wanted Shell to move processing offshore. When work resumed on the construction site, Shell to Sea began daily vigils to prevent workers from entering the site. Hundreds of Gardaí were deployed to the Rossport area.
I mean, if Shell's past behaviour was good, we wouldn't be fighting them. We'd trust them. It's the world and the community that has us put fighting Shell, because they have told us their record is absolutely scandalous. So that's why, I mean, we have no choice but to get on their back and try and stop them before they ruin us.
Each month, a day of action was held, and local Shell to Sea members were joined by protesters from around the country. In November 2006, the tensions reached a new level.
Last opportunity before I deploy force.
It's regrettable that the Gardaí are still needed here, and of course they wouldn't be needed if the protesters' actions were peaceful and lawful at all times.
The Red Sisters are looking down at you!
Didn't want to listen, and that made people very unhappy. So desperate that they might, end up doing desperate things.
I accept that people have a right to protest, they have a right to object, but I think that should be peaceful and lawful. That they do not have a right to stop people going to work.
I've lived here all my life, apart from a number of years in college. I live about 5 miles from the proposed gas terminal. It's just a small group of protesters who are determined that this project will not go ahead. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I see currently 200 jobs there at the moment. That's 200 wage packets every weekend.
A year ago, the Irish government sent an official mediator to Rossport to find a solution to the conflict. Although the two sides never met face to face, Shell agreed in the end to reduce the pressure of the pipeline and reroute parts of the pipe to a still-to-be-decided location. Locals did not welcome the news, asking why Shell hadn't done this in the first place.
You know, they talk from apologies to lies to whatever. I wouldn't acknowledge what Shell say.
The days of action continue into spring. This protest passes off peacefully, but afterwards a breakaway group of protesters move off and occupy the building site at Bellnaboy. Tension grows outside the site. Buses and vans with more Gardaí drive through the gates. After the violence of preceding protests, nobody knows what to expect. After intense negotiations, protesters are escorted out peacefully. Most people from the area knew nothing about the occupation and were having sandwiches after their own march had passed off peacefully.
With the amount of people gathering from all over, you don't have total control.
Why have you decided to consult more with the community?
It's something that we think is going to help the project move forward from now on. It's obviously based on the experiences in the past as well. We realise more and more of the benefits of engagement with the community, and we're seeing the benefits of that.
Would you have decided to consult more with the community if there hadn't been those protests?
Oh, I think we would. I think that would have happened anyway.
At present, the Environmental Protection Agency in Ireland is conducting hearings into the licensing of the Shell development. The conflict looks set to run and run.
We're just trying to protect, and we'll go to whatever length it takes to stop it.
This week, one of the protesters, Willie Corduff, who featured in our film, became the first Irish winner of the Goldman Environmental Prize. It's the environmental equivalent of the Nobel Prize. He's now in Washington with his wife Mary to meet with leading senators and congressmen. That's it for the programme, but we would love to hear your views on Iraq's refugee crisis and the rossport story on aljazeera.net/English. Until next time, goodbye.